Hey everybody, it's Old Fart, your old buddy. How you doing? You've heard me say many times that religion poses a significant threat to scientific and social progress. And what happened today in the Hobby Lobby case proves it. As if Citizens United wasn't bad enough, giving what is in reality just a legal document, a fucking piece of paper, the same rights as living, breathing people, allowing corporations to literally buy elections, the Supreme Court's ruling today in favor of Hobby Lobby has given business owners the power to thumb their noses at the law based on beliefs about contraception which have no basis in medical science and dictate the healthcare choices of their employees based on a book of Bronze Age bullshit. Remember all that right-wing hysteria about how Obamacare would put some government bureaucrat between a woman and her doctor? Well, what happened today was much, much worse because it puts superstitious fools with religious views based on fairy tale stories about some magical sky daddy no one has ever seen between a woman and her doctor, making a mockery of science and spitting on the separation of church and state. Don't forget, Hobby Lobby is not a church or a non-profit religious institution. It's a for-profit business. This ruling could open a floodgate of exemptions to even more businesses to ignore the laws they don't like. The court said it ruled in favor of Hobby Lobby because it's a closely held company. But a whole lot of U.S. corporations, including some of the really big ones like Walmart, which is family-owned, fit that definition. And owners of large for-profit non-religious corporations can now try to use this ruling to force their beliefs on their employees, even when it's to their detriment. And this could affect millions of American employees. Don't be surprised if a lot more businesses get in line to petition the court to allow them to discriminate against people who work for them and their customers and hang it all on so-called religious beliefs. Everything from hiring practices to equal pay to dress codes to employees' private personal behavior to which customers they want to serve. Make no mistake, this is not the victory for religious liberty that the dumbed-down paranoid crowd is claiming it is. This is a victory for ignorance and superstition being sanctioned as a legal means for discrimination in which science and women lost big time. Make no mistake, this is a one-way law in favor of corporations over people, in favor of freedom of religion over freedom from religion. The whole point of establishing a corporation is to create an entity separate from oneself to limit legal liability. So Hobby Lobby got special protections that only a corporation can get on one hand, and special protections that only individuals, churches, and religious organizations get on the other. They're literally getting their cake and eating it too. I think Justice Ginsburg's dissent says it best. Religious organizations exist to foster the interests of persons subscribing to the same religious faith, not so of for-profit corporations. Workers who sustain the operations of those corporations commonly are not drawn from one religious community. Any decision to use contraceptives made by a woman covered under Hobby Lobby's plan will not be propelled by the government. It will be a woman's autonomous choice, informed by the physician she consults. Approving some religious claims while deeming others unworthy of accommodation could be perceived as favoring one religion over another, the very risk the Constitution's Establishment Clause was designed to preclude. Right on, Madam Justice. This is 2014 for fuck's sake, not 114. In an advanced, sane society, here's what should have happened today. The Supreme Court should have demanded that Hobby Lobby call God himself as their witness to clarify his views on contraception once and for all. And when their star witness was a no-show, the case should have been thrown out of court. At the very least, the government should have placed a copy of the Bible into evidence and quoted any of the many verses that command Christians to follow the laws of the countries they live in. Romans 13:1 and 2, for example, which says, depending on the translation you're reading it from, that every person shall be subject to the governing authorities because those authorities have been instituted by God. And anyone who is against the government is really against something God has commanded. Instead of letting the highest court in the land decide that religious beliefs trump the law of the land, even when those beliefs have no actual basis in fact or reality, I think the government authorities should have made their case by pointing out the hypocrisy of Hobby Lobby cherry-picking the Bible for their own convenience and demand that they follow God's Word as clearly stated in their own operating manual. But simply because the Bible thumpers and paranoid wingnuts whine and cry about losing liberty and activist judges, the activist judges of the Supreme Court put another nail in democracy's coffin today by propping up, yet again, the idea that corporations have the same and even more rights than actual living people do. If there is any good news here, it's that decisions like this might make it easier to pass single-payer health care sooner than later. Having employers be responsible for the health care of their employees is a stupid idea in the first place. But since the court said maybe the government should take care of any women whose contraceptive needs are affected by their ruling, they kind of opened the door a little bit of a crack for it. Look, we need to change the Constitution to guarantee that no corporations or outside interests are allowed to secretly sway elections with billions of dollars of cash, and prevent religion, any religion, from restricting freedom from religion by touting it as protecting liberty. Otherwise, you can kiss the world's most advanced country goodbye, as we're quickly becoming the world's stupidest knuckle-dragging joke, for which, sadly, there is no good punchline. Peace and love, everybody. That's where it's at.